Well, here's the deal, though. First of all, when someone says to vilify their own, don't necessarily know what they mean by that. But the reality is this: racism, you're not born with that. That's a learned trait. And so what we have to understand is the moment a child comes into the world, what we say, what we do, what we present to them, where we take them, all plays a role in this whole notion of racism. And again, I rarely ever use the word where I call somebody a racist. But again, the problem, as I said on the air, we have resorted to racist, not racist. And we don't want to admit there is stuff in between. We don't want to admit that these unconscious views, I don't really understand why I don't trust that particular person. People don't understand what it means to be a black man and you're in a newsroom and you can't raise your voice like a white man can. Because all of a sudden it's the angry black man, it's the angry black woman. And so it's a whole different standard that is applied. What also happens is that the level of racism, stereotyping, that was projected on African Americans from a dominant culture, from a white culture, of course is naturally going to impact black folks. So for instance, in Skip Gates' documentary, Many Rivers, there's a museum in Michigan that is dedicated to the images of black folks. And in this museum, they literally have all of these magazine ads and television commercials and billboards. And no other group of people in the history of the United States has been so denigrated through mass media for as long of a period as time as African Americans. And so to think that somehow that's not going to have an impact on how you think, it's nuts. I had a guy who hit me up one day and he said, and again, this is not an idea of racism, but to understand how deep and pervasive white supremacy is. Had a guy hit me up and he said, man, when are you going to get you a show? I said, well, I have my own show. I mean, I'm on 5 days a week. It's my morning show on TV One. He said, no, I mean a real show. I said, a real show? In his mind, this daily show on a black cable network wasn't a real show. But if it was on MSNBC or CNN or Discovery, that's a real show. He was literally devaluing a black network because we have been taught that black is inferior. Black is secondary. Now here's what's interesting. The set where I do my show is literally the exact same set that Brian Williams did the NBC Nightly News. Same chair, same seat cushion, same table, everything, the exact same. So I'm doing a show in the exact same place when the NBC Nightly News comes to Washington, D.C., but it's not a real show. Somebody who hears it, they would say, Roland, you're taking it a little too far. No, it's literally when you have been bombarded with images that black is in inferior, that what is done by blacks is inferior, you begin to, unless you have freed yourself mentally from that, you take on that. Dr. King gave a phenomenal speech, and he wrote it in his book, KSO Community, that the African American has to sign his or her own Emancipation Proclamation, because there has to be an assertive manhood, an assertive sense of self that cannot come from anybody else. That's how pervasive and deeply rooted and systemic race is in America, where literally you would think something that is great product would somehow be inferior because it's black.